eat now. Put on the show.
Big Mac.
Do like a mukbang for everyone.
That's what we're in here for, man.
I was at a convention in New York, and Catherine Shell was having a talk over there. Gary Morse was clearly a 1999 Gary Morse came in holding a styrofoam containing food. Walked up on the stage behind her where there was a table and a chair, and just sat down his turn. And she was like, "You're ready to bring it up for everybody?" Very good. She would just turn around and check on him every once in a while. Yeah. There he is.
How you coming?
No too many.
A lot of disappointed fans this week.
Yeah. All about me.
All right, now you can.
Now we can start.
You're all set.
Wait a minute, did you have 10 cookies? No, you can't. Hi, everybody. Are you guys enjoying Monsterama?
We are.
Excellent. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think so.
No, nobody can hear me? No? Yeah, okay. Everything's all right? Okay. Well, thank you for coming to the Classic Monsters Modern Art panel. I'm Anthony Taylor, in addition to being the co-chair of Monsterama. I'm also an author, and I have a book coming out in February called Classic Monsters Modern Art. Who would have guessed that? And these are some of the artists whose art are in the book.
The best ones.
The best ones. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves as well, starting at the end with that little one-eyed fellow with the big teeth.
Hello! I'm Jared. I draw monsters. Woohoo!
I'm Frederick Cooper, and I also draw monsters.
Like what's my line?
I have to admit I draw monsters too.
Oh man!
I've drawn other things, lies, all sorts of things, but monsters is my favorite. Mathematics, yes. Mathematics is a monster. Yes.
So,
It's true.
So much like Robert Shaw in Jaws, y'all know them, y'all know what they do. And so here on this page up here, we can see is the cover for set of Classic Monsters.
Graham Humphreys.
Graham Humphreys from England is the cover, and he is a very talented fellow. And I don't think that man takes a day off if he doesn't schedule himself out. He's been out of work for the last 3 years.
That's really good.
He's very, very good. And we kind of based this on Lewis Gifford's Classic Monsters movies, just as kind of a feel, similar feel to it, because these are all the same characters, basically, that we're talking about. My concept for the book that I came up with probably 5 years ago and submitted to 2 or 3 different publishers before I landed at Insight Editions was to use only characters that had been created before January 1st, 2000, but represented in art created only since January 1st, 2000. So while we are reverent of people like Dazzle Godos and James Franklin, Huntsler, and the other greats that came up through the original Monster Kid movement, there's an amazing crop of artists that are doing this every day, all day. Some of them, slightly less than that, but all of them are sharing the art, and they are created a new, basically a new movement of artists and classic characters. So I felt like it would be a great thing to aggregate some of it and celebrate some of it, and kind of shine a light on some of these artists who are, some arts like writing a solitary sort of thing here, the drawing board, or drafting table all day long, or an easel. And we only get out occasionally for conventions.
Even rarer than that.
That's right, exactly. So I hope you will enjoy the book, and let's have a look at so there again, characters created before are created after. This is a great creature for life of a piece by Rob Roachfield. It's going to be in the book. One of the things I really love about this is the extended perspective and focus down in that. He is a very talented guy who is not here today. But he is in Whoops, sorry. Okay. And this is the first monster. So, since time immemorial, people have feared what was in the dark, and we do about it on cave walls, which is well documented, easy to find all that stuff. The text of my book kind of tracks the growth of mass media representation of artwork from this to where we are now. And while it may sound boring, I'm a great writer. It's so interesting. Oh, fascinating. I make little jokes and cracks, and I'm very witty.
What he said.
Yes. Yeah. And all along the way, you get to look at some amazing art. That's the best part. But while you're looking at art, you do need to think about what you're looking at. And there are three components that are relevant to observing any creative work. The first one is the work itself. See, the work is what the creator makes and releases into the wild. It's an unchangeable artifact confined in the amber of time, even if the creator later revises and reissues it. This
Or preserve.
or preserve. You also need to take the context into consideration. Context is the aggregation of your marks of the environment into which the work is released, the cultural temperature surrounding the work. And it absolutely has an effect on the work, and the work has an effect on the work. And the final one is the observant bias, and that's what the person who experiences it brings to the event, and it's a unique thing to each person and each viewing. So your first viewing of a piece of art is never the same as your next time, or your last time. With that in mind, that's a great Basil Gilligan's piece from famous author. This is some of the artwork for the guys sitting here. I didn't know Jared was going to be on the panel until yesterday. It's not a piece of business.
I have a booth. You can come see all.
I think there may be one later in the presentation.
They're not going to know who you are though, unless you.
Well, they'll know.
Or is that your actual head?
That's my thing.
Oh, in that case, you're okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good.
Tell us what this piece by you is, and what media and where it's here.
This one was for Horror Hound magazine. They were doing an article on John Carpenter's The Thing, and the guy said he wanted, he definitely wanted Kurt Russell in it, but he wanted the monsters, and he wanted to use the tentacles as frames for the different creatures. So it's digital, and I don't know. I mean, it's like I lucked out by the fact that my good friend Willie Whitten, who sculpted the Spiderhead for the film, you know, we were buds, we lived in the same town, so he was able with this one and some of the other times I've ever drawn that thing to tell me whether I got it exactly right or not. So, and it's not just Photoshop, it's a Corel painter in the oil brushes that I start with, and then I go back and I tighten up with almost like a micro cross hatching with Photoshop. I'll make like a 2 or 3 point, just a micro brush and just cross hatch. Because you blow the stuff way up. I mean, Kurt Russell's head when I was working on a monitor was this big, and then you shrink it down and you're like, you're so good. You paint it with your elbow, or with your nose, or whatever, but you reduce it down and it just really tightens up.
Awesome. And Frederick, tell us about this Mr. Hyde.
That was a commission piece, and looking at it now, I wish I'd done it larger, because the original is 8 inches by 10 inches.
Wow.
And
That's a lot of detail right there.
You really should have done that larger.
that's right. Yeah, I definitely need to work larger, but my eyes are telling me so anyway. But yeah, I take every opportunity to draw Frederick March as Mr. Hyde, because I think it's still underrated. I know it won an Oscar, but it's just terrifying. I mean, I can't imagine what it was like in 1932 watching it.
It's the best one.
And go like, well, tell me you're all over, man.
Neil, tell us about this piece.
And what is this piece?
This piece right here.
Oh, that one. That's the one that did for the,
Yeah.
the toys, the marks,
Yeah.
toys, and
I did, a couple of years ago, I did a charity
Not friends.
No, I sent some of my artist friends who had the time and capacity to work on this, and that was my charity. The little Marx figurines of the Universal Monsters from the 1960s had been painted up, and then we auctioned them off to raise money for Planned Parenthood. And Neil was like, I don't paint those things. No, but I will do an original piece of art for you.
No, paint, I know, I still remember the horror of being a kid trying to paint those Aurora models, that were just horrible. So in this, I asked Adam, if it'd be okay if I just drew the monsters more or less based on the way they are in the toy, but just as a regular kind of Monsterama piece. And the ink wash is a stuff I like to use when working on that kind of stuff.
And it was a very popular piece.
It was?
Yeah, it was several $100s.
Really?
Would you
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, not for you.
I could have sworn you said there was money involved. Oh, but it was for other people. Oh, okay.
That's what charity means.
Charity begins at home.
All right. So, in addition to these fine people and charity, like I said, I'm pretty sure there's another one facing here. We've got works by Bob Eggleton, who has 9 Hugo Awards for Best Artist from the Science Fiction Writers Association, which is kind of crazy. Gregory Manchess, who is I think he's like one of the top tier illustrators still alive and working today. He does postage stamps and all kinds of just amazing work, and he mainly works in oil. This is a pencil study for an oil piece, and I did a profile on him for Illustrators Quarterly magazine. It's going to be out in the fall, but he's got a bunch of great other pieces as well. And this is Susanna Vilches, who goes by Suspiria because she loves Suspiria, and she has blown up since I kind of, I don't want to use the word discover her. Since I discovered her for myself, her professional profile has gone through the roof, and she's working on a lot of high profile stuff. With those guys, you've also got Vince O'Connell, one of the great stars in all of but one of my favorites, Paul Mann, who is an amazing painter. He does a bunch of the kind of new style movie posters for retro things. He's got a psycho piece in his book that's just fantastic, and a bunch of other stuff. Doug Pigosh, who's the guy who does all the stuff for retro, the company online, and another amazing painter, kind of a low-brow kind of guy. Greg Staples, who has done some of the most amazing monster oil paintings I've seen in my life. Douglas Cloudland, who does a lot of cult and older sci-fi and monster stuff. He's in Chicago with the greatest artist in the world. Graham Humphreys, who did the cover and a bunch of stuff inside. Alvaro Gomez, who is one of my favorite kind of low-brow painters. Paul Garner, who again is a British guy like Graham Humphreys, and he does the most amazing caricatures of monsters and characters from films and stuff. Shane Morton, who he's out there getting ready to go do the Silver Screen Spook Show here in just a little while, and he couldn't really leave his booth to come with us, but that's okay. Jared Faust is in it. Gary Cullen, who used to be the art director for Rue Morgue magazine. Daryl Joyce, who is another great British guy. He does amazing Doctor Who stuff. I mean, the Hammer stuff that he does, he glows off the screen with the stuff that he does. Gustavo Rapella does amazing black and white kind of ink wash stuff, kind of like Neil does. Adam Insom, Derek Hayes, who's also an Atlanta guy, he couldn't get here today. Jack Bush, who does the most amazing watercolors I think I've ever seen. Scott Jackson, who is the cover painter for Scary Monsters magazine now. Rick Rooms, who does great little kind of like graphic representations and jokey things that of classes. She's got some great Twilight Zone pieces in the book and other stuff like that. Kerry Gamble, who a lot of you probably know from his comic book work on Superman, and
I've worked with him.
yeah, and he just released 2 graphic novels where it was like Frankenstein and Dracula graphic novels as starred in by Clark Karloff and the Ghost. Fantastic. Erica Diagutis, who does amazing kind of like pop culture representations of little monsters. Cecil Porter does these amazing Blu-ray covers. Also, I think he's in England. Damon Fulton, who is a California surfer dude and does a lot of California surfing monster. Juan Ramos, who does the most amazing, like kind of 80s, 90s things for reissue, not reissue, but new posters of old movies, and also for Blu-ray stuff. David Brooks, who goes by Brooks, a British guy who's from Jeff Preston, who does the most amazing work with magic markers you'll ever see in your life. Lacey Barber, who is an animation artist who does just fantastic, wonderful animation style monster art. Trent Abel, another British guy. A lot of British guys in here because my editor's British, and like, you gotta have British to let Trent does some amazing stuff as well, and his stuff is kind of lowbrow humor stuff, which I really like. Pete Bregman, he does a lot of kind of retro comic panel inspired stuff. Rob Birchfield, Mark Maddox, just a ton of amazing people in this book, and I can't believe that I didn't have to pay them a dime. They are absolutely the cream of the crop for people.
I didn't read
this
that.
is the Paul Mann
contract.
That's right. This is the Paul Mann Psycho poster that I was talking about. Eldado Gomez did the piece with the Mystery Machine Man. Erica Diabudis has the Kraken at the bottom. Gustavo Hello did the portrait from Margaret.
Oh,
Yeah.
Carol Warren.
Carol Warren, yeah, exactly. Daniel Horn, who again is just a fantastic oil painter. He's kind of retired and so now he's doing kids' books for his grandkids, which he loves. Cecil Porter did that Melon Mute, and Bob Lizarraga did Operation the Creature thing. I'm really happy to feature so many different styles. Or there's a Jerry Faust right there, right in the bottom. So that's Jared's work. Damien Fulton has, like I said, he's a California guy, so surfing stuff and hot rod stuff he likes. Dirk Hayes, who's again in Atlanta, does kind of like that kind of same kind of lowbrow stuff. He does a lot of sticker work and things like that. And Doug Kugosh from Retro Go-Go to the bottom one there with Vampira. So, this is a bunch more text, which is kind of like not welcome in an art book, but I'm not going to read all this stuff out to you because it's marketing shit. But we have a preface by David Desmolchin, who you guys probably know from Suicide Squad and
Late Night with the
Devil, all kinds of stuff. He was so stoked to be asked to do a preface for this. And we have a foreword by Jonathan Mayberry, who's a multiple New York Times best-selling list author with his series of Joe Ledger books and other stuff, and just a dyed-in-the-wool monster kid. So that was great. And it's, like I said, the monsters included are pretty much everything that we're here to celebrate this weekend. So if you're here because you grew up classic monsters, this is what this is all about. 200 pages-ish. It may be 216. We haven't locked the final signature on it yet. We've got a ton of art to choose from and put in there, and it has been, there's been a lot of, no, but I like this one better. No, I like that one. Me and the editor and the designer. But it will be in stores in February 2026. It is from Insight Editions. It's already up on Amazon and elsewhere online for pre-order. For hardback, it's going to be $40. As far as I know, it's going to be in Costco and in Walmart. I mean, it's going to be everywhere because they are a mass market publisher of art books. And they really got behind the concept when I pitched it to them. Unlike the people that I pitched it to before. Like, oh, you actually like it? Wait a minute, let's talk.
What's the size of the book?
The size of the book, I think, is 10 by 13 or something like that. I mean, it's going to be, very similar to the George Wilson book that I had in the literature. So, yeah. And these guys are superheroes to me. I obviously have a lot of friends who do this. I thought this would be something that I wasn't the only one who wanted. And gosh, man, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20 people in here. That's great. That's fantastic. I appreciate you guys coming to learn about the book. Now let's learn more about the artists that are here on the book, man.
we really want to know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You ruined the mystique.
I know.
Yes,
Well,
he's all about mystique.
What, I mean, look, so Jared, you primarily are into tattoo stuff.
Yeah, it's my only personality trait.
Correct. What was your inspiration? I mean, how did you imprint on that, or how did it imprint on you, and how did you get started?
When I was 3 years old, my mother showed me Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it's just all been downhill ever since. So like I draw Godzilla. I've been really into Ultraman. I was really happy. I begged Anthony, please don't just use my Godzilla stuff. I do so much Ultraman stuff, and I like it so much more. So I'm really happy that the Garamon at least made it into the PowerPoint.
Glad you called it Garamon and not Pigmon.
Yeah.
Well, no, it is, yeah, I mean, they're different. They're different, and that is Garamon. And Garamon is one of my favorite monsters. Yeah, no, I just, it is an obsession. It is a compulsion. I draw monsters. I do practical effects monster movies. I work at the Spook Show. I do like all in-camera special effects and stuff. And so it's just, yeah, it's a compulsion. I like big monster. I like when big monster wreck building. Yeah.
Sheer poetry, man.
Can we quote you?
Yes, please.
Sure, why not?
Tinkerbell.
What about you, Frederick?
Essentially an obsession my whole life as well. Unfortunately, I got sidetracked by life and had to do a lot of commercial work. You know, I did NFL properties and U.S. Olympic and just tons of stuff that essentially at the end of the day bored the crap out of me. So I kept drawing monsters on the side, and then I was about to hang it up completely, and my son said, "You need to try to do full-time what you love to do." And ever since 2017, I've done so. And I've never had this much fun ever in my entire nearly 50-year career.
And I will tell you, when I first saw Frederick's work, I was like, wow, he's doing that in Photoshop. And I'm like, but then Frederick and I became friends, and he allowed us at Monsterama to use some of his work, and he sent me these like very high resolution files so we could print the posters that are all in the hallway out there. And I looked at them, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like, it's all pencil marks and like, yeah, color wash and stuff.
Fortunately or unfortunately, depends on how you look at it, my advertising career aided me tremendously in producing really sharp, detailed images very quickly. So I'm just saying that 40 years plus before was not wasted. It pushed me in the right.
Ultimate Aura stuff, helps.
Oh, absolutely,
All
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made so many mistakes. It's like I know what to do, not to do anymore. I just got to concentrate on what to do. So it's, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't change the way my career's gone. But.
No, I think you should stay
What about you? What was your spark of a moment that put you into, hey, I can do this, and it looks pretty good?
Well, as some of you guys know, I started in regular so-called mainstream comics. That's how I started, about give or take 40 years ago. But ultimately, I was, I guess what's now considered a monster kid. Because at my age, I grew up around that time period when TV was showing the old Universal Studio stuff. And Godzilla and all that other stuff. And some years later, when I think I'm probably loud enough.
Anybody hear me there?
No, you're
Excuse me, one, two. All right, I think that's more than much. So many years later, I had lost my real job, and I was on a plane or something. My wife, we were fairly newlyweds in a sense, and she said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I don't know what I want to do. I have to go out and find another job." He said, "What do you're always talking about? You want to do comic books?" And I said, "Well, don't be, come on, really?" It's insane. They'll do some samples, and this was in the mid-'80s. There was a lot of independent comic companies coming up. And so I had a much better opportunity to send out samples because DC and Marvel, I wasn't even good enough to do a bad sample to send to them, though I did send stuff to them. But there were a few independent companies that responded to me, gave me some suggestions. And one company was just starting out in Norristown, Pennsylvania, called Kamiko Comics. There was a bunch of college guys that decided they want to make their own comics. So I had sent them some samples. They liked it. We got to know each other. And they started me on some of their independent comics. And I did about 90 pages of a book called As, A-Z, which was the publisher's book. That never got published, and we can all be thankful for that. It was awful. But like he was talking about the commercial work, it taught me, because I did 90 pages of pencils over a course of like 3 months. And I was at least 90 pages better than I was when I started. So it was very helpful, and even more helpful that they didn't publish. So what happened later, they got the license to Robotech. And because they were just starting the cartoons on television. And I got on one of those books, and then one thing led to another, and I managed to get some mainstream work at a little bit of DC, a little bit of Marvel, did some Spider-Man stuff, some Superman stuff. But in the long run, what I wanted to do was horrors. I wanted to do monsters and things. And it just wasn't something I was getting an option to do because, again, I had nothing planned, but I was drawing comics. I was trying to draw comics, so I was happy. But years later, I got a chance to do some creator-owned stuff. There's a book called Black Forest, there was Flesh and Blood, and I got to do those. I got to work in the ink wash style that I wanted to do, black and white. And I'm finally, getting back to what I really initially wanted to do, which was draw that kind of stuff, and now I can do it. And I'm having a heck of a good time. And I get to be in beautiful books like what Anthony's putting out. I get to meet idiots like this guy here. I finally got to meet Frederick, who I've heard many things about. And what's his name over there? So I am very, very happy. I'm very happy.
All right, Mark, you're up.
There you go, Mark.
All right. So luckily for me, I had very supportive parents when they found out I could draw. My dad lost his mind, having worked in the oil field at the age of 13 in Oklahoma, and joining the Air Force when he was 17. When he saw that I could draw, he just lost it. He goes, "Oh my God, you won't be just, on the street corner selling pencils." And so eventually, I started doing stuff like working for t-shirt companies and doing silk screen and all that. And finally got to a pretty big Holmesland Publishing Corporation, where I became their art director. And, seeing stuff, you can see my stuff on CNN, you can see it in the Wall Street Journal and things like that. And then I ended up going and getting another job after about 15 years there, and boom, 2008 hit. After about 5 years, housing bubble burst, and I couldn't get, nobody looked at me like, we're not paying that kind of money for what you're making. I went to the Florida lottery and I showed the guy my portfolio. He goes, "Oh, you're good." He goes, what do you want for this?" And I gave him my price. He goes, "That's $20,000 more than I make." He was going to be my boss. And I'm like, "Well, maybe I just don't want a job with you." So I'd already started taste testing stuff with doing comics, and I found out how much you guys get paid. And I said, "Oh, this is bullshit. I'm gonna go ahead and do the covers, do the good part." And I was already loved films, did a little bit of comics, but as soon as I got a chance to do my first Monster magazine, interior illustration, I just like a duck to water, and just got in there, and I loved it, and never really could recover from jobs. I had some crappy jobs, loaded refrigerators on the trucks, and it's weird, like your boss is sitting there going, "Oh, you gotta get the lawnmowers out from around the back of the Sears or whatever." And a woman would walk in, she goes, "Can I have your autograph?" the Monster magazine that was down at the bookstore, and the boss was going. And it was, and so finally, moved back to Tallahassee and met the right woman, and she goes, I said, I guess I'm gonna go and get a job down at the state, you know, just doing some boat licenses or something. And she looked everything over and she goes, no, you're gonna do this. This is what you're gonna do. You know, and she'd already run a business for years, exotic animal, lizards, snakes, scorpions, spiders, and had done a really good job at it. And so the business model kind of went over to what I was doing, and that's been it. You know?
It sounds like a really long Dire Straits song.
You're not far enough away from me.
All right. Well, I have another question for you guys, each of you. Who is your favorite monster artist? Your main, main dude. If you had to pull one out of the pantheon, who would it be?
Present company accepted.
Well, I'm thinking more in terms of the guys who inspired you when you were young.
Oh, yeah.
rather than, the guys now. I mean, because we got a whole book to sell. Don't give away anything.
Who's starting? Thank
Yeah, let's
face.
go back.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I feel like I'll regret picking anything. Noriyoshi Orai, I think, off the top of my head. The guy who did, he did a bunch of stuff, but I mostly know him for the 80s and 90s Godzilla posters.
Right.
He's the best guy.
Absolutely phenomenal, color work, and especially the Return of Godzilla poster from '84 and the Godzilla vs. Biollante poster from '89 are both just jaw-dropping pieces of work.
Yeah.
And I still love the use of color and everything is, absolutely
Good
phenomenal.
choice. Absolutely.
Mine would be Basil Gogos, of course. That's the person who inspired me the most. But I have to throw Frazetta in there, even though he wasn't primarily a horror artist. The horror art that he produced is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys see that there's a new model kit coming out of this Old Man vs. Dragon?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had the original statue that came out a few years back.
Oh, very
What was
cool.
it, Real Arts, I think, or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I have that.
It's going to be out, I think, sometime in the next 3 months.
His art pieces seem timeless. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like they were done yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's, like Headless Horseman, the two versions of the Headless Horseman he did, and Executioner, lots of creepy covers, eerie covers.
I bought every one of them.
But, Basil is essentially still the king as far as monsters go, as far as I'm concerned.
I think that in my case, it's the horror magazines, creepy and eerie magazines, especially, of course, the early ones. I was already a huge fan of Steve Ditko's work because of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, but his black and white work and ink wash work in the creepy and eerie magazines was phenomenal. I think it's literally the best thing he ever did, because you could tell he just loved drawing that. And he got to work in black and white, he got to work with ink wash, gray tones and such. Same with Gene Cole was another one that was in there. I mean, again, not primarily a horror artist, but of those magazines, those guys did some of those guys like Angela Torres, guys like that, Alex Toth, Jenny Craig. Just there's some amazing artwork that I think some of the best work any of them ever did were in those magazines. And Frazetta covers, and there's Adonis covers, and things like that. I think other than film, I think those were probably my main influence. I think, and you probably agree that that's some you could see that in some of the stuff.
Absolutely. And all the guys from Spain that worked on Vampirella.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's great. They were amazing.
Sam Gilling is still around.
He is still around?
Yes.
And he's still just as good as he ever was.
Oh yeah, it's annoying, isn't it?
For me, it's Bama, which I always said Bama, but I was corrected by Bill Scotty. It's Bama.
Bam.
Stupid. But and it wasn't
You
really
mean James Bam?
James Bama.
Yes.
Well, everybody knew they should. Cindy Bama. But they, the thing is, it's just Go-Go's and the Warren stuff and my my love of comic books. I wouldn't be an artist if it weren't for Jack Kirby and his punchy dynamics and everything. The EC guides, Warren covers, like you said, got all that. With Bama, it wasn't even his monster stuff. At first, it was those Doc Savage book covers that he did. Those things were freaking amazing. And every once in a while, you get a nice large scan of the original. You pour over it. What can I steal? What can I learn from this guy? And this year I'm finally going and doing oils, and I go back over and look at those covers again now, and I realize he's doing this all either in grayscale or two-tone, and he's glazing all of his covers like Rembrandt would. He glazed it. So he's like me, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So I would rather do everything in black and white or a two-tone, and then add the color in later, like Maxfield Parrish does or something like that. Do it that way. And so for me, he's tip top, but I mean, one of my favorite covers of all time is the one Ken Kelly did of Famous Monsters. That was the 75 convention poster with the little heads on it. Or Bob Larkin's incredible cover to Monsters of the Movie with the Frankenstein monster holding the doctor's arm and turning back around and looking at you. So the other day I posted my oil painting, and who writes me but Bob Larkin and Joe Jusko, and I know we're not worthy. We had a guy in our school that everybody went crazy for back in our school, Bill Nelson, and he was the guy that used to do the colored pencils of the Lon Chaney Jr. stuff. And 2 years ago, he got a hold of me and goes, I wish I could do Chaney as good as you. And I'm like, oh. Yeah, so, it feels good. But yes, I'm a colossal fan of so many kinds of artists. And people go, well, what about Jack Dowden or something like that? Yeah, him too. And need to learn from all of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as far as mine, there's so many to choose from, but Bernie Wrightson was a really good friend of mine. And I just don't think anybody ever did it better than Bernie, not even Roy Krinkle in my opinion. I mean, I think it's so prolific. Going to your head later.
Who's that?
Roy Krinkle. Do you like Roy Krinkle more than Bernie Wrightson?
No.
Oh.
We got you brought it up.
I recall a 2-hour conversation about Roy Krinkle, but okay.
But with somebody else, because I remember. I mean, Franco begat Rosetta, that's where I am.
Well, 100%, yeah. He definitely has an influence for Rosetta, but Bernie, in addition to, he's obviously probably best known for his Frankenstein illustrations, and rightly so, because they're mind-blowingly fantastic. But, he did all kinds of horror-related work, and many of them were just like little weird moments, They weren't big, overblown kind of action illustrations, a lot of them. They're like a zombie coming out of a grave, kind of like looking askance over your shoulder. It's like, what is he scared of? His work really made me think and made me wonder what was going on in the liminal space that he did not even allow.
The spot pieces he did, like the Warren magazines.
Yeah.
Aside from Swamp Thing, for that matter.
Swamp Thing,
Very good Swamp, co-created Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
He was an unbelievably talented person, but he was also an unbelievably sweet guy. And I miss him very much. He was a good dude. So here's the money. And all of these guys, because they're all dead except for, I think, Garrett.
We're not sure. We're not really sure.
We're not sure. The final results just aren't in. But, all right, so, check my timer. We do, in fact, have time a little bit more. All right, so, again,
Actually, I need to go run and help with the spook show.
okay, go run help with the spook show here.
Everyone come see the spook show.
Anyway, what's the thing?
Don't take that mask off, it's ugly or underneath.
That's not true. He's a very good looking guy. All right, so who's your favorite subject? What is your favorite monster to draw? Is it going to be Mr. Frankenstein? Oh, Frankenstein.
I think I've drawn him, it's hard to even calculate, it's probably thousands of times.
Wow.
When you say Frankenstein, you mean Frank?
Well, let's narrow it down even more. You're talking Carl? Frank Strange? Okay,
Carl Frankenstein. I've drawn more images from the Bride of Frankenstein than any one movie.
Mm-hmm.
Even though King Kong is my favorite film, I look at that as more of something that I do occasionally, but it's something, I don't know, shrine-like about that film. I don't know. But I just constantly have images from the Universal Frankenstein films in my head, so that's what I usually come out.
It's probably fairly obvious.
Yeah,
based on what I'm
do I
wearing.
even need to ask you?
Yeah, let's see, what character do I like? Dracula has always been my favorite movies, the favorite subject to draw, the Tomb of Dracula that you're going through. Christopher Lee, I'm sorry for all you Lugosi fans, but Christopher Lee is Dracula. I'm sure he would disagree hardly, but it's the character itself. I love the books, the book about him, books that have been written that are sequels to it, different people. Just the subject matter, for some reason, like what's his name is obsessed about kaiju. I'm obsessed about the Dracula character. And I've drawn in other stories of mine and tons of illustrations for other people for commissions. But I think that, though I probably, in fact, I'm sure the first time I saw a Dracula film was on TV, of course, when I was a kid. In 1964, I was at a drive-in with my brother and my father, and they had 4 films they were showing at this drive-in in 1964. It was Horror of Dracula, Curse of Frankenstein, Goliath and the Vampires.
Yeah.
And in honor of our missing guest, it was Godzilla versus the Thing. Which of course was awful.
I know, man.
1964. Those two, I think, had just come out.
Yeah.
Those two. The Dragon Frankenstein, of course, were reissues.
Yeah.
But after that, there was no going back. I mean, I love kaiju films. I love Effens. And when I saw Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing in the Dracula film, to me there is no, and I love hundreds of Dracula films, but there's just no, that's the Desert Island Dracula film, or a horror film for that matter, I would think. And it's, in fact, I literally, my memory is that at 10 years old, we were leaving the drive-in, we saw all 4 films. One of my best memories of my father was that we stayed for all 4 films. And we were leaving in our the quintessential station wagon. And they started Dracula again. And I don't know if those of you who are familiar with theater speakers at a drive-in. You know, I'm hearing as we're leaving, and I'm like, no! Because again, for years I wouldn't have seen that film again. So it was just, it definitely it changed my life, at least under that subject. So yes, I have to say that.
For me, that's a crazy question. There's too many things. I would say this. I started off doing hammer work for things like Little Shop of Horrors and kind of got a little bit of notoriety out of that. But when I got the chance to do Universal, it was like, forget that. Universal was like way more important to me. But especially certain hammers, Bride of Dracula, I love that. Curse of the Werewolf, I've got a new piece that'll be coming out, and I think the very last issue of Little Shop of Horrors, I'll be doing something that nobody's seen yet.
I have a lovely original painting of yours of 2 major hammer.
Yeah, this irritates the hell out of me too. Just finished this oil painting last week of all these vampires and all that stuff. We had a party and people came over and they said, "My God, Mark, this is wonderful." And I showed it to my daughter and she goes, "I still like that black and white one with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee with the syringe." And I go, "Neil Boggs." You got it for us.
A real extreme close-up of Christopher Lee as Dracula from Scars.
Yeah. Where he's putting that thing on Patrick Troughton's back, that hot poker or whatever.
Yeah, and Baron Frankenstein, but just close-ups, you don't see the rest of the body.
Yeah.
Baron Frankenstein has got a syringe.
Yeah.
And it's just the 2 of them like a close-up, which you would say they're originally done for a cover.
Yeah,
If
cover
you
of
tell
the guy
the
sales
story,
one, do a publish in the magazine.
But I fell mad in love with that painting, show a few years back, and my wife, bless her, bought it. But she says it's her paying. It's just true. It's her money. So she bought it, but it's our paying. We got a beautiful frame and everything. And but yeah, I'm very, very proud of that piece.
Thank you very much. That was, yeah, I mean, it was
And
a
it's
lot of work.
And that's another thing.
But with other things after the Universal, there were certain things that I grew up with specifically that I wanted to do. Outer Limits, I love doing that. Dark Shadows, and the Night Stalker. Anything from that, I've done my share. I'm sure a lot of you know that you've seen another Maddox with another one. But I love that stuff, but it's too vast. It's a vast stuff. Sometimes I want somebody to give me a Planet of the Vampires to do, or something.
Yeah.
And sometimes I like bad films too when they give it to me, because somebody told me they had a bet. I'll bet you can't make the Creeping Terror look good. And I said, if somebody gave it to me as a serious job, they can make it look good. They can make it look damn good. But nobody's going to do that. Not for free. I'm not going to work for free. I'm going to work on something that I really want to see done myself. I've got 1,000 things I want to do, but there's no time. I work 7 days a week.
You are very hard working to do that. I know that last year. All right, well, we have a few minutes left, and if you guys have any questions for anybody on the panel, now would be the time to ask them. Just raise your hand, and I will call. Okay,
Yeah, there goes Ted.
I was surprised, well, maybe to a certain extent, something I was surprised nobody's mentioned like any of the movie poster uppers that you have, like any particular favorites. Now, of course, one comes to mind, but I'm just wondering, like, as far as like movie poster artists, which would be your...
Well, Jared did.
He
didn't count.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as a particular...
I always run back to the James Bond posters.
McGinnis.
McGinnis and the other one, especially on the Thunderball especially, you know, where they just threw artwork at you, and it was kind of crazy. It's like, ooh, that's cool.
Speaking of making monsters look better than they really are, Frank Reynolds.
Yeah.
You could absolutely do that. The poster was better than the movie in many cases.
Yeah, and Reynolds Brown. You got me part of the way. I appreciate it. But I got that book, and then a bigger, thicker edition came out, and I got rid of the first one and bought the second one. So when the third one comes out, I'll be there.
And that's very similar.
Wasn't there a documentary about it that was called The Man Who Made the Monster?
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think Reynolds Brown died not really being appreciated, which I've heard many times before.
Yeah.
He was part of, he was kind of eaten up by that studio machine. They didn't want people to sign things. They didn't want people to get anything. It's like, hey, we paid you. Isn't that enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. Sometimes not enough. What else? Anybody got another question?
Like, you got another question? Anybody else?
Is he a plan? Did you bring him along?
No, you can see the look on his face. He's back there trying to make trouble.
Trying to stir it out. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. So I imagine, I know all of you probably work in any kids like hand stuff, but I just heard you say that you do things digitally. So I'm really curious, if you both, what was it like to transition from like traditional media to digital media, and how often do you go back to traditional media?
I go round and round.
Yeah.
I literally, like, I did something digitally. I'm sick of it. I don't want to see digital again. Then I go to the pen and ink, and then I'm sick of you now. And then I go to I'm done with acrylics now, other than as an underpainting. And now with oils, doing that, wash, and just boom, 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 and keep going around. So I'm never really bored, you know, where it's not just a slog. But I painted in traditional years and years ago, in both acrylic and oils, but it'd be like a potted plant or something like that, you know, tripping. And then later, but just coming back now to oils is it's like, I almost feel guilty when I'm working. It's damn easy. It's so easy.
I can't work digital. I'm too old school. I'm all about the feeling of the pencil and pen on paper, and there's kind of an offshoot of that too. As I was just telling somebody about this yesterday. I think it's sad that no matter how beautiful that digital painting is, it doesn't really exist. Not in the true sense of the word. It's not ever going to exist as a real
Well, that's part of the problem too with selling a collector's piece when there isn't one, and then they try that crap where they what do you put a block and tackle on the damn artwork digital thing. Well, now it's worth a lot more because we put a special number with it. It's like,
You're on a chain.
is that what it is?
Blockchain.
I just use digital out of necessity. It depends on if it's gonna be output huge, like a movie poster, I'll definitely use digital. And if time is of the essence, I've got to use digital. I mean, unfortunately, it's something that's, as far as being a commercial artist goes, you pretty much have to do it, I mean, essentially.
I will say this, with digital, one thing that's really good, especially with our line of paper detail,
Yes.
is that when an editor makes a change, you're not sitting there going, hey,
Absolutely, yeah.
oil or acrylic or something, you're ready to kill. So digital, it's fast.
Well, yeah, the way you two guys work, I understand why you do that. I mean, in my particular case, I mean, mostly I've done comic book work, or cover work or something. And to me, it's just that pencil pen.
Get the white out.
I'll be honest with you, if I lived close enough to him, if I lived near him, I would ask him to let me come to his house and watch you do ink and wash so I could learn that. I would, that's a great ability that I've never really pursued, but I'm like, I said to you one time, I go, hey, I think the great something ink and wash, what is it with you? But I would like to see that.
The feel of that, when I first started doing it, like I said, inspired by the old creepy and eerie stuff. What I loved about it is there's to me, in my mind, anyway, not like working with a computer in that sense, is with a computer, yes, there are specific apps and such you're going to be using that approximate a thing that another person would do for real. But it's never alive. It doesn't, it's like any number of people could have pushed that same button and gotten that same effect. And with ink wash, when I started doing it, when I was learning how not to screw it up, was once I had that pen line down and I put the water on it, if I could have taken that same page done 3 ways, it would have been 3 different pieces. Because the wash is going to do what it wants to do. And I just, to me, that's just exciting. It's not a big mouth, it's exciting.
It's like, here goes the stroke. It might work out, here we go.
And sometimes this is better than what you're thinking at first.
That's so much another person and another thing too. I also have done watercolor or acrylic wash and then colored pencils because I was a huge fan of Ansel, the artist of the 1980 TV Guides and the first Raiders poster and all that. I love that technique. I think one of the greatest movie posters of all time is the John Wayne movie, The Shootist.
Yeah, I love
gorgeous. Yeah, I finally plopped some coin down and got one. But it's that kind of stuff. It turns me on when I see that. It's like, I want to do that, but then I go back to being mathematics.
Well, you're not going to be able to avoid that. I'm sorry.
All right, guys, we're about out of time, so I want to let everybody know that all of us are behind tables in the dealers and
You're actually behind the table right now?
Right, well,
I'm sorry you asked me to come.
They're going to move his table. They're moving his table to the men's room.
but so the 3 of us are in the big room. He's in the little.
I'm off in the hall.
But I hope you guys will come and take a look at what these guys have, buy some things from them, come then over and look at my books, and maybe you've got a little cash left.
But maybe even visit what's his name.
Karen also.
They'll walk right by his table. They wouldn't know what's in
We didn't know what his name's are.
Where is he? Yeah.
I don't know, actually. He could be sitting right next to me. And I
No,
don't know.
Jared is like right behind me.
What?
Yeah. Oh, you don't recognize him because he doesn't wear the t-shirt.
Okay, well, I'm right beside you on the other side.
I know, exactly.
David didn't even know, yeah.
David.
All right, thanks, guys.
There you go. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you, everybody.